Yeah, I mean, and I'd always heard the the bare minimum of the story, but I mean, I thought to myself, I mean, this is a person who's been through two ordeals, but at the same time, you came out happy and a good person on the other side. Do you feel like that really contributed to who you became? I mean, obviously we always get that, but I mean, at the same time, surely, it definitely played a big part to who you became.
Yeah, Travis it's wild because this is the first time I do remember speaking about this on the record. It's obviously something I don't wish upon anyone in the world, but it's also good to know that when you're put in a position, in that kind of position, you do what you can do and you don't freeze. Who knows what they're going to do until they get into the position. And I think people surprise themselves a lot too. The other thing I can say is, God, I feel so, that was one night of my life. And then you think about all these men and women coming home from war, and it's like you understand why they're all going through this horrible, trying to get back into society after going through all of that PTS. It's just, it gives you, it gives you so much empathy. Yes, bless you. It gives you a great deal of empathy and humility and appreciation that's there for but the grace of God. I'm still walking, and thank you for everyone who serves this country, and thank you for all our EMS guys and all our fire, guys and everybody who protects us. It's not an easy thing.
No, I can't imagine having to do that myself. I had a friend who was actually an EMT, and it was too much for him. He saved a life, and, a lot of people are like, I saved a life, that's a great thing. But at the same time, that will rattle you to your core to think that you had a life in your hands. So, but, moving forward to, I guess, some more things back into the realm of Hollywood. In 2009, I just found this out. I didn't even realize this, that at some point, and I don't know how long this was planned, you were actually planned for a cameo in the remake of Friday the 13th. How did that come about, and what ended up happening there?
Yeah, they called Betsy and my convention manager, Anya, and they asked if we were interested, and we both said, sure. Of course we would, and we were all excited. And then we got a phone call back from Anya saying they changed their minds. They decided they didn't want anyone from the original. So it was a week of exhilaration to, I guess not. But it would have been fun. It would have been fun. They're still trying to figure out what to do for the next one. But I was at Shock Pop with Sean Cunningham last week, and it was so funny. Not last week, last 13th February in Fort Lauderdale, and the fans made it clear that they did not want any kind of lost or found footage. And it was
everybody has said that. Yeah, I mean, I'm on that same page, and I have no problem with found footage. I just don't want to see Friday the 13th found footage.
Yeah, but it was, if you could have seen Sean going, I get it. No found footage. We thought that. Now we get it. No. He was being attacked by by everybody in the audience. It was funny.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the many reasons for the delays on the next one. And, if that's what they have to do to make a good movie, then so be it. I didn't have a problem with the remake, but, to read some of the things that could have been that didn't happen, it kind of bums me out. But on the positive side, Adrienne King has been in a few movies here in the last, I don't know, what are we thinking, 7 years, where you had taken such a long hiatus. Talk about some of those that, maybe people haven't seen yet.
Well, I was resurrected from the dead by my fans. That's really true. And the kids that grew up in the 80s with me as a counselor, they're now the writers and directors and producers of many a film out there, and many of a TV show. I have a bloody bunch of happy campers out there. And so, let's see, the first one I did coming back was with Mel House called Walking Distance, and then Lionsgate picked it up and chopped the hell out of it and made it Psychic Experiment. So, the movie could have been a lot better because I saw it in one form at the Texas Film Festival, and it was great. And then they chopped it off and made it kind of silly, but it's still bizarro and it's still fun. It's sci-fi horror. And let's see, what else? Oh, then there's the Butterfly Room where I play a little cameo about what I call a little girl, like the bad seed, where she she goes through the malls and finds older women and she seduces them and, into giving her money and things. It's kind of a trip. And Heather Langenkamp is there, and I had a scene with Barbara Steele, which was fabulous. So much fun working with her. And PJ Souls is in that, too. And then what else? Oh, I did something called Tales of Poe, where I play the Queen of Dreams, and also it's like where they do this before and after, like the Wizard of Oz, and so I play the nurse, the evil nurse first, and then the Queen of Dreams. And that was Bart Mastronardi and Alan Rowe Kelly, and Amy Steele was in that one with Caroline Williams, and we had a total bloody blast. And Mike Verratti, I have to give him kudos, he wrote it. He took Edgar Allan Poe's poem from Dreams, all that we see and see is but a dream within a dream, and he created, and so did Bart, this cinematic, beautiful short film that is with an anthology of three of Edgar Allan Poe's in one wraparound. So that's hitting the film festivals and doing rather well. It's winning a lot of praise, and Debbie Rossano has been winning Best Actress for her portrayal in The Telltale Heart. And again, I just have a little cameo and it's a silent film, so it's kind of fun. It's all expressed through eyes and sound. It's fabulous. Just silent film.
I was going to say, you've probably been through that with stage acting, right?
Oh, yeah, I love the stage. I haven't been on the stage in ages, but I used to enjoy that quite a bit. I grew up on the stage.
You brought up, and it was a brief mention, but you brought up Heather Langenkamp, and, I just want you to think about this. I'm sure you've already thought about it or people have brought it up to you, but 50 years from now, 100 years from now, Friday the 13th is one of those movies that's going to be remembered forever. I mean, it's just unavoidable at this point. And, there's a Heather Langenkamp who's always going to be remembered as Nancy, and then there's Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis, who's always going to be remembered. I mean, how cool is it for you that, long after you're gone, long after I'm gone, you can try to play modest here, but at the same time, you have to be honest. You're always going to be remembered as Alice, as the survivor girl of the original Friday the 13th. I mean, think about that. You're always going to have a spot in history.
Travis, I laughingly say no matter what I do, I always know the first line of my obituary. And I couldn't be prouder, quite honestly. How fabulous to be remembered for a strong female role when there weren't any. It's pretty darn cool to actually have turned something that in the beginning was like, oh no, not another slasher, but in retrospect it broke ground, like you were saying before, as one of the first female final girls, final females or whatever they're calling them, final girls,
Yeah.
Instead of being the victim. And, Fright Rags and Amy and I and the Dana and Kimberly did this really wonderful thing. We were able to raise money for a limited edition poster and give it to victims' rights, and it's like turning something that used to be almost like, I remember Roger Ebert, like putting it down as just a horrible movie and how dare Betsy do it and what a terrible thing for, women everywhere. Well, you know what? It's a great film for women. It's really it's a great film for anyone. If you want to take a roller coaster ride and you want to feel if you want to go for a ride and survive, it's kind of it's something that I'll take very proudly to my grave.
Interestingly enough, I've never been scared by the Friday the 13th movies because I'm, as long as I can remember, I've always watched them. I'm talking, and this is legit, somebody actually took me to the movies when I was 3 years old and I saw Friday the 13th Part 5. But, that being said, there was one scene, maybe two scenes, in all of the Friday the 13th that freaked me out, and you were involved in one of them, and it was actually the Jason scare at the end of the first one, just because even when I knew it was coming after I'd seen it for the first time, something about that always freaked me out. Do you remember getting to watch the full movie for the first time, and what were your emotions being able to, watch the full, I guess, masterpiece at this point is how we feel about it.
Yeah, well, I was very, very blessed. Sean Cunningham, the director, was very generous with me as an actor, especially being a young actor. And he would let me watch my own dailies as we were going through it to see what worked and didn't work. So I learned an awful lot on that movie. In terms of the other side of the camera, which makes you a better actor. I've learned so much from just that experience, going back over that again and again. And he invited me to one of the first screenings where, unbeknownst to me at the time, but I figured out rather quickly, Warner Brothers and Paramount were standing in the back along with some other film buyers in the back of the screening room, and it was at Magno, which is where I used to go and do all sorts of other film work and voiceovers and things like that. So I was kind of familiar with the screening room. So I knew to sit up in the front, and I asked him if my mother could come. And so we sat there, and I told this story. I don't know if you ever saw it on Bravo's Countdown 100 Scariest Films, but I did tell this story, but they clipped it, where my mom and I are sitting in the front, and her first gasp is when we're playing Strip Monopoly because, raised a Catholic girl, and it's like, God forbid I unbuttoned that next button, she was going to have a heart attack right there. So so we get past that, and she's like, phew. Nothing could harm her now, right? She's okay. The kills don't matter to her. It's just that second button. So we're getting through it, and she's like, okay, almost ready towards the end to start. It's probably this time of the year or even earlier, February, and in New York it's cold, and she's getting ready to put her coat on, and I'm like, just like tapping her on the leg, just be quiet, sit down for a second. It's not cool to get up yet in one look. You know how you can do that to somebody? Like, Ma, chill. So it's like, Ma, chill. And so she sits there very contently watching the movie that she is sure is already over. And at the point you're talking about where Jason pops up, when Harry Manfredini lulls you into that wonderful sense of just comfort, thinking everything's safe and wonderful, the cops have arrived, and boom. Well, she jumped at least 20 feet into the air and let out a scream that was so good I finally realized where I'd gotten my scream from. It was genetic. And I turned around, and those two guys in the back were shaking hands with Sean Cunningham, and I said, Ma, you just sold this movie.
That is an awesome story. That will be something that lives on for sure.
Yeah, and that's really, truly what happened, I'm not sure if they were talking numbers, but I saw handshakes, and I know there were deals going down. And Sean remembers. Yeah, it's so wonderful. It's a wonderful memory.
Hey, so we're talking 35 years later. What do you happen to remember? And again, this is 35 years ago, so I'm sure you don't have a problem talking about it. Do you remember how much they actually paid you for your appearance in Friday the 13th, the first one?
You know what? I actually gave Peter Bracke because, like I told you, I collected everything on there. As an artist back in the time, because I went to school in New York, and I had my art degree and the whole thing, and I was really going to make some hell of a collage, right? So you never know. So I kept everything, and I got, at the time, I was very happy with it. It was $700 and something a week, and back then there was also no profit participation with Screen Actors Guild like there was from 81 and a half on or 82 on, but for 1 and 2, it's crazy. I do not participate in anything. I get little baby checks from SAG for $20 or something a year, so $50. I don't know what it is. But in part 4, this is the funny part. They use film clips of me, and believe it or not, I get more in the film clips that they use than I did in royalties for 1 and 2 together. Is that funny?
That does not surprise me. Do you get anything from the figures that they made? They made an Alice figure at one point, I remember.
No, I get nothing. I don't own that character. I own me. The same way, it's really funny. I can paint myself, right? And I can, on my wine labels, I paint Alice in the canoe, and Crystal Lake obviously is is something that we can use, but I guess they could sell